My fiancée said she settled for meso. I left, took my business with me, and now she sells homemade candles nobody buys. I'm a 31-year-old guy, and for a long time, I thought love was something you built, not something you earned. That if you worked hard enough, stayed loyal enough, gave enough fit, would all come together like a reward. That's how I saw Jenna, my fiancée. Or at least, she used to be. I met her when I was at rock bottom adjacent. I'd just quit my corporate job to start my own digital marketing agency, and everyone from friends to family told me I was reckless. You're throwing your life away for a pipe dream, my brother said. Jenna, though, she leaned in. She told me, if you believe in it, I believe in it too. We moved into a tiny one-bedroom rental on the edge of town. She was still finishing her design diploma, and I was cold mailing restaurants and cafes during the day, doing freelance gigs on Fiverr at night. I remember one night we ate instant noodles on the floor, surrounded by IKEA boxes we couldn't afford to build yet, and she looked at me and said, "This is the part we'll tell our kids about someday." That moment stuck with me, made me think I found someone real, solid, kind of woman who'd build a life with you. Brick. But there were small things. Ignored how she always wanted to take credit for motivating me after client wins, or how her compliments were oddly structured, like she was reading a script from a lifestyle podcast. "You're such a high-value man, babe," she once said, completely dead-eyed. At the time, I thought I was just being overly analytical, that maybe I didn't know how to accept praise. But now I know sometimes love isn't about what someone says to your face. It's about what they say when they think you're not listening. And one day, I listened. Our life started to shift when I landed my first major client, a local hotel chain that needed a full brand refresh. The retainer was enough to cover rent, groceries, and even let us replace our creaky mattress. I felt like we were turning a corner. Jenna cried when I told her the news, hugged me tight, and whispered, "We're unstoppable." From that point on, she became more involved in the business. She wasn't officially on the books, but she offered to help with emails, invoices, basic design mock. I started calling us a power couple, half-jokingly at first, but the label stuck. We took professional couple photos for our website, branded ourselves as the creative duo behind the scenes. Clients ate it up. Jenna started dressing differently: sleek black dresses, statement heels, bold lipstick. She said she wanted to look the part. I loved it. I thought she was growing into the success with me. We'd stay up late watching TED Talks, make vision boards, talk about turning the agency into a full-scale firm. She even joked about naming our future daughter after one of our clients, who gave us a 5-star review. But in between the laughs and planning, something started to shift. I noticed how often she compared me to other men her ex, especially, "He was charming, but you're solid," she'd say, while sipping wine. Or, "At least you're not the type to cheat, like he did." It always came out half praise, half shadow. She also became obsessed with Instagram couples, those matching hoodie, jet-setting luxury lifestyle influencers. She'd scroll for hours, then look at me and say things like, "We should be that couple by now." I thought she was just ambitious. I thought we both were. But I didn't realize then she didn't want to build a life. She wanted to arrive at one, and I was just the vehicle. The bigger the business got, the smaller I started to feel in my own home. Jenna's tone shifted subtle at first. Compliments became suggestions. Encouragement turned into backhanded remarks. If I told her we signed a new contract, she'd raise an eyebrow and say, "Took you long enough." If I ordered takeout after a long day, she'd glance at the bag and say, "Guess we're giving up on fitness now." And yet, when we were around other people, she played the perfect partner. Told everyone I was so driven and such a visionary. But in private, she rolled her eyes at me when I got excited over small wins. I tried talking to her one night after dinner. I said, "Do you even like who I'm becoming?" She looked up from her phone, half listening, and replied, "I like the idea of who you could become. You're not there yet." It stung, but I nodded like I understood, like she was right to hold out. I convinced myself that maybe I just hadn't proved myself enough. Around this time, she started obsessing over a new hobby. At first, I thought it was cute. She ordered starter kits, filled the apartment with vanilla and eucalyptus scents, and told me she needed something grounding in her life. I supported her, even helped build a little logo for her online store. But when I asked how it was going, genuinely curious, she snapped, Not everyone wants to live and breathe their business 24/7 like you. That's when it clicked. She wasn't just growing apart from the business. She was growing apart from me, but I still held on. I told myself love was work, that rough patches were normal, that if I just loved her harder, she'd meet me halfway again. What I didn't realize was Jenna had already stopped walking. She was waiting for someone else to carry her the rest of the way. It was a Friday night, when everything cracked wide open. Jenna and I were invited to an engagement party for one of her old college friends, people she hadn't seen in years but still followed religiously on Instagram, the kind of party with rooftop views, designer cocktails, and people who introduced themselves with job titles instead of names. I wore my best blazer. Jenna wore this emerald green dress I'd never seen before. She looked incredible and distant. From the moment we arrived, it felt like I was just her plus one, not her partner, not her future husband, just someone to fill the space beside her. She drifted into a circle of women, laughing, sipping champagne. I stepped away to grab a drink and ended up talking with a guy about SEO strategy. When I came back to find Jenna, I stopped short just behind one of the decorative trellises. I could hear her voice clear as day. I settled, but he's nice, stable, not exciting, but he's obsessed with me. Laughter followed. Light, bubbly, cruel dot. My ears rang. My throat closed. I felt frozen in place, like the air itself had turned to ice. Settled, not, exciting, obsessed. I didn't walk over. I didn't confront her. I stood there, staring at the flickering tea lights on the table, listening to my heartbeat thud against my ribs like a warning drum. The rest of the night, I played my part, smiled, held her hand, told people we were doing amazing. But something inside me had shifted, not snapped, just cracked. And once a crack forms, no matter how small, you start seeing the structure for what it really is. Fragile, performative, hollow, and that crack was going to give way. I waited 3 days, not because I was scared to bring it up, because I wanted to be calm when I did. Measured. I kept going over her words in my head. I settled. He's obsessed with me. Every time I looked at her, they echoed. She didn't notice the difference. Or maybe she did and didn't care. On the third night, after dinner, I sat across from her on the couch and said quietly, "Do you really think you settled for me?" She blinked, then tilted her head like I'd asked her what time it was. "What are you talking about?" "At the party," I said, "you told your friends you settled." There was a pause. Then she gave this little laugh, high and dismissive. "Oh my God. That you were eavesdropping." "No," I overheard. "You said I wasn't exciting." "That I was obsessed with you." She rolled her eyes and took a long sip from her wineglass. It was girl talk. "You're reading way too much into it. Everyone exaggerates a little in those settings." "I just want to know," I said, my voice cracking slightly, "if that's how you really see me." Jenna's face tightened. Her tone turned icy. "You're so sensitive sometimes. It's exhausting. This is why I can't have fun around you. You twist everything into some emotional crisis." Asterisk. I sat there, stunned. Not because she was denying it, but because she wasn't even trying to understand why it hurt. Then she dropped the dagger. "If the shoe fits," she muttered, barely looking at me. And just like that, the air between us changed. It wasn't tension. It was vacancy, like she'd quietly exited the relationship a long time ago and forgot to take me with her. I didn't say another word that night, but something inside me was done waiting for her to explain herself. 2 weeks later, I was prepping a major proposal on our shared iPad. I'd been working on a pitch for a luxury hotel chain that could triple our monthly revenue. Jenna was in the other room pouring wax for her latest manifestation candle drop, and I needed to grab a client file she'd emailed to herself. That's when a notification popped up, one of those group message previews that slides in from the side. It was from a chat labeled Brunch B****. The message read, "I still can't believe you're with a LinkedIn freelancer. You could have bagged an investment banker." I froze. I knew I shouldn't look, but I tapped anyway. Curiosity mixed with something colder instinct. What I found was worse than anything I'd imagined. Screenshots of our private texts captioned with laughing emojis. Voice notes of her mocking how seriously I took my work. One message said, "He's safe. Not sexy, but he worships me." That's rare these days. She even sent a picture of the engagement ring. Not my dream cut, but whatever. Stability over sparkle. My hands were shaking. I couldn't feel my legs, just kept scrolling. 37 messages, all of them turning me into a punchline. I wasn't her partner. I was her backup plan. Her emotional ATM. I set the iPad down like it was contaminated and walked to the window, staring out into nothing. It wasn't just the betrayal that gutted me. It was realizing how long it had been happening. How many fake smiles, how many staged I love yous. And right there in that silence, something in me hardened. No more hoping, no more explaining. No more defending my worth to someone who'd already sold it for clout, she thought. I was obsessed with her. She was about to find out how dangerous indifference can be. I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I didn't even flinch when Jenna walked into the room minutes later and asked if I wanted to test her new lavender blend. I said sure, smiled, said it smelled amazing, because the moment I closed that group chat, a new version of me woke up. One that didn't beg for respect. One that didn't try to fix people who thrived on breaking others down. That night, I stayed up until 3 a.m. drafting a full separation strategy. She wasn't on the LLC, not legally. The business account was in my name. The lease, just me. I had built everything, assuming we'd be married. But I never added her to anything official, and thank God I hadn't. Over the next few days, I moved like a ghost in our own apartment. I began migrating client files to a private server, changed all my passwords, opened a new business bank account. I called my lawyer and old friend from college. We scheduled a formal consultation. I even reached out to a real estate agent on the side, quietly started touring new places. I told Jenna it was for a potential satellite office. She didn't question it at night. I'd lie next to her while she scrolled through Instagram reels of other couples' luxury getaways, proposal videos, lifestyle vlogs, and I'd wonder how she could be so close and yet feel like a stranger in my own bed. I pretended. I played the part. Because if I was going to leave, I wasn't just walking away. I was taking everything I'd built with me, and I wasn't going to give her a single excuse to play the victim. She wanted to treat me like a placeholder. Fine, but placeholders don't leave. Warning signs, they just disappear. It all imploded over a scented candle. Jenna had been posting about her candle line nonstop. Photoshop-heavy shots, with captions like luxury you can feel, energy you can manifest. But behind the scenes, her sales were dead. She blamed the algorithm. Then she blamed me. You could have at least run some ads for me, she snapped one night as I walked through the door, drenched from a client shoot that ran late. You're always promoting your stupid agency, but not mine. I stared at her, stunned. You want me to use client budgets to push your lavender sage chaos magic candles? She folded her arms. Wow. So now my work is a joke. No, Jenna, I said slowly. But your entitlement is that was it. The match hit the gasoline. She exploded screaming about how ungrateful I was, how she sacrificed her youth to support me, how I would still be a nobody with a Wix site if it weren't for her. You needed me, she shouted, face red, hands shaking. You still do? I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I finally saw it. She didn't love me. She loved the access. And now that I was pulling the plug, she was panicking. I walked into the bedroom, opened the drawer, and handed her a thick envelope. Inside, notice to vacate legal documentation removing her from any informal business ties, and a canceled wedding invoice. I didn't raise my voice, didn't say anything cruel, just looked her in the eye and said, "You said you settled for me. I'm just helping you correct that mistake." She grabbed one of her candles through it. Glass shattered against the wall. I didn't flinch. I picked up my keys, walked past the broken wax, and said the last thing I ever said to her, "You don't need to settle anymore. Jenna, you're free." I moved out within 24 hours. Not a dramatic exit. No screaming. No final showdown. Just a quiet morning where I loaded my essentials into the back of an Uber XL, tipped the driver well, and didn't look back. The apartment lease was solely in my name. I let her stay for a week, just enough time for her to figure out her next step. After that, she'd either leave or deal with the notice. I didn't care which. Mutual friends were stunned. Her best excuse was, he just abandoned me. She cried on FaceTime, said I was having a mental breakdown. but she underestimated the receipts I had. Screenshots, voice notes, a downloaded PDF of her group chat with every cruel message she ever sent about me. I didn't post them. Didn't need to, but I let them leak to the people who mattered or inner circle, the ones she thought would rally behind her. They didn't. One of her friends texted me, "I can't believe she said those things. You deserved way better." Jenna spiraled. She went live on Instagram with puffy eyes and spiritual quotes behind her. Talked about toxic masculinity and emotional abandonment. I watched 5 minutes of it and closed the app, not because I didn't care, but because I finally did. I cared about me. For the first time in years, my calendar wasn't centered around her drama. My agency was thriving. I hired 2 new people, took on clients I'd only dreamed of. Jenna. She launched her candle site officially, handmade, all natural, self-love infused, but the likes never came. Neither did the sales. And every time I saw one of her pity posts on my Explore feed, I scrolled right past because I wasn't her villain. I was just the exit door she never saw closing. Her feed turned into a slow-motion breakdown. First, it was aesthetic photos of her exposed shots of her holding mason jars, pouring wax into gold tins, captioned with things like, "Burn away what no longer serves you." Then came the carousel posts about healing through heartbreak, each one getting fewer likes than the last. I didn't follow her anymore, but the algorithm knew the history. She kept popping up. Mutuals would send me clips. One showed her on a shaky Instagram live, sitting on the floor surrounded by unsold inventory. Her eyes were puffy, voice cracking as she said, "People are so cruel when you're just trying to follow your dream, especially men who pretend to support you until they leave you broken." The comments were silent. One of her old friends, Sasha, forwarded the live to me with a single line, "She's still trying to make herself the victim." I didn't reply, just archived it. Meanwhile, I moved into a new apartment top floor, tall ceilings, more light than I knew what to do with. The kind of place I used to dream about when we were eating dollar ramen and pretending we were building something. Except now, I actually was. I spent my nights refining campaigns, onboarding clients, hiring a part-time assistant. Every once in a while, I'd light a candle one of the generic ones from a grocery store and smirk at the irony. Jenna had built her entire identity around aesthetic, smoke, and filtered affirmations, but you can't build an empire out of pity, and every sad post, every passive-aggressive quote, every desperate attempt at reinvention just made one thing crystal clear: she wasn't rising from the ashes she was choking on them. It's been 18 months since I walked out of that apartment, and I've never felt more alive. I didn't just leave Jenna, I left behind the version of myself that begged to be enough for someone who never intended to stay. The agency is now a full-fledged firm. I've got a small team, an office with floor 2 zilling windows, and a client list that includes names Jenna used to tag in her vision board posts. I even landed a collaboration with that hotel chain I pitched the night I found her group chat. Full circle moments are funny like that. Therapy helped more than I expected. I went in thinking I'd get tools for anger, maybe a roadmap to closure. What I got instead was clarity. I had spent years trying to earn someone's love by becoming useful, dependable, safe, but I wasn't born to be a backup plan. I started dating again. No rushing, no fantasy build, just real conversations with people who saw me, not my potential. Jenna still posts occasionally. Vague quotes, like "sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself," or "healing isn't linear, but it is lonely." I don't engage, I don't stalk, I don't wonder how she's doing, because she told the world I was someone to settle for. And now, I'm the man she can't even reach. I saw a post of hers recently, one of those desperate marketing reels about reclaiming your divine feminine energy through scent. It had 112 views. No comments. I stared at it for a moment, not out of bitterness, just reflection, because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about proof. Proof that I never needed to be chosen by her, I only needed to choose myself. She said she settled for me, but the truth is, I was the best deal she ever had. She just couldn't recognize value without a luxury tag and a viral comment section. And that's fine, because these days, I don't chase validation, I build. I build strategies, campaigns, brand stories. I I sit across boardroom tables where people actually listen when I speak. I finish my work before 6, light a basic candle from Target, and cook dinner in a kitchen that smells like peace. I don't talk about Jenna anymore. Not with friends, not on dates, not in therapy. She's become one of those people you pass by on the street and almost recognize almost. When I'm closing my laptop at the end of a long day, I remember that rooftop party. The champagne? Her laugh. That one cruel sentence whispered behind a paper-thin mask. I settled. No, she gambled, and she lost. The final nail in the coffin. A friend from our old circle called me last week. Said Jenna moved back in with her parents. The candle business is gone. She's trying to rebrand as a self-love coach. She asked him for help promoting her new site. He declined. People remember how you treat the ones who built with you, he said. She burned that bridge with both hands. I didn't feel joy hearing that. Just silence. Because when you really heal, you don't need revenge. You don't need karma. You just need peace. She lost a devoted man, and I lost dead weight.